Hello, everyone. Welcome to an unusual podcast. It's a Stars End production in association with Mad Matt Inc. and Fireheart Inc. And today, we're here to talk about...
On a spaceship.
I don't think that came through very clearly, but that was Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. Hope this is coming through clearly.
A little bit.
Alright, so anybody particularly feel inclined to attempt to summarize this thing?
Well, I actually saw it this time.
I did this week. Why doesn't somebody else try this week?
So am I being asked to do it now?
I don't know. I don't think you were angry enough last time. I think you need a retry.
Vengeance shall be mine!
It's unfortunate. Flynn, oh yeah, we never introduced who was here, but Flynn wasn't able to make it this week, which is kind of disappointing because I did have something I wanted to bring up regarding some of his points last week. But with that can always wait another week. So we've got here. I forget, was everybody going by actual name or were had screen names we were going by? You know me, I'm the Man in Black.
I'm Mad Matt.
I'm Randy.
And I'm Thomas.
Formerly known as Mad Matt, now going to be mostly known as Malice, I guess. Because
Malice
my
only-
hero is dead.
Malice only when voice effects are applied, though.
Oh, I don't know. I could try and pull my voice. Something like this.
No, please don't.
Please don't do the whole podcast that way.
Yeah.
Why not?
If you do that, I'll start calling you Dr. Claw.
Guess you catch it next time.
So we're off topic. We're off topic already, and this is because we all really want to be the person to summarize this episode. So let me give this a try. Tell me if I screw anything up, because I really could not figure out what the fuck was going on for parts of this episode. Nefertiti is trying to seduce the Doctor, a la the Aztecs, and therefore he takes her on the TARDIS, and then he picks up a guy with a gun for no reason.
Well, actually, first he goes to the 24th century.
Really?
Yep. I watched the episode 3 times now.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He does go to the future first.
To me, and I didn't have time to watch it a second time.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm already messing up. So somebody else go from here.
Well, he goes to the 24th century.
I'll go again.
Okay.
Alright, so yes. Beginning, we start around it was about 1000 BC with Nefertiti and the Doctor getting over some adventure, which apparently happened off screen, and she's coming onto the Doctor and winds up going into the TARDIS with him after he gets a psychic paper call. It then flashes forward to the 24th century, where he's in the control center of the ISA, which I suspect is the International Space Administration. And they're talking about this big, round, spore-looking spaceship that's about to crash into Earth. The director there mentions that if it doesn't change its course within the next 6 hours or so...
Also, the main plot of the episode is actually in the future?
Yes.
Yes.
I did not... Okay, I don't think that actually has much bearing, one way or another, but I did not realize that.
Yes.
I thought this was a modern day...
Nope.
Yeah, I kind of did too.
No, they were using holograms to shoot missiles and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, because he was looking at basically a holographic display screen, and it gave a date at the beginning of the episode.
Oh, okay.
It gave first, 1100 BC, or 1700 BC. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then it went forward to 23, I think like 64 or something like that. 24th century time. So the Doctor decides that he needs some help to just figure out this conundrum. So he goes back to what I assume is the early 1900s.
That's the number I've seen, early 20th century, yeah.
Yeah. And picks up this guy who's apparently some kind of safariist.
And actually,
we've never ever met before.
What I'm seeing on Wikipedia is that he's a big game hunter.
He mentions that later, yes.
Yeah.
He's a big game hunter on the African continent.
At this point, I was too busy trying to wonder who these two people were and why they were with the Doctor to go.
Yeah, that was an issue with me trying to figure out how did the Doctor know this person and why did he decide to pick up this person?
Because usually guys with guns he doesn't really care for.
It's like, really, if he was going to pick up a guy with a gun, why not, the Smiths? As in Mickey and Martha, not as in Sarah Jane. But or some other prior companion.
Anyway, we then flash forward to the Ponds at home. Amy, Rory, and Rory's dad, who's changing the light bulb, as the TARDIS materializes around them. The Doctor picks everyone up, says, "Okay, we're going here." Starts the ship up again, and there they go. To the ship in the future.
Without paying attention to the amount of people that he picked up.
Yes. He doesn't figure that out till after he's left the TARDIS and everyone's out. He then turns around and questions Rory's father.
Yeah. This was a setup for a very out-of-character and poorly written joke.
Me?
You want to explain that?
Yes. Well, I don't want to go into too much detail or summarize, but basically the summary of it is the Doctor first flips out on the fact that he has a stowaway. Rory explains that he's his father. He then flips out on Rory for using him as a taxi service, before Rory then explains, "No, you basically kidnapped him." And he's like, "Oh, okay, that's fine then." And then we go on with the episode.
Which, really, considering the last time this happened was Jackie Tyler. It's kind of a bad habit when you think about it.
Oh, you're saying kidnapping people?
Yes.
Well,
kidnapping people's parents.
It's a bad habit that he's had since 1963.
True, but only in recent times has it been companions' parents.
He never kidnapped Martha's parents, surprisingly.
No, just Jackie, and I cannot remember anybody prior to Jackie. Anyway, so they wander around this spaceship. The Doctor comments on spiders, which is unusual for a ship. And then, of course, he finds a locked door, which he opens, and it contains dinosaurs on a spaceship.
Actually,
Insert Samuel L. Jackson quote here.
Which is apparently the most amazing thing the Doctor has ever seen in his 1,200... Well, okay, let's be honest, more like 1,500 years.
Yeah, I think he lost a few centuries there, because he started at 900 in the new series.
Yeah, but
he was 957 at the beginning of the 7th Doctor's run.
From what I heard, one of the classic Who Doctors specifically mentioned being over 1,100 years old. I don't know which one.
Not that I'm aware of. The last registered date that I can remember was from Time and the Ronnie, where he was 957. It was specifically mentioned in that episode because it was also the code to a door, because it's the Ronnie's age too.
Huzzah!
And this was a McCoy adventure?
That was the first Sylvester McCoy adventure.
But then again, there's also the fact that Sylvester McCoy obviously lived for, well, based on Matt Smith's aging, it takes several hundred years to make him age a single human year, but Sylvester McCoy lived to a ripe old age. So you can imagine
said in the classic series happened pretty linearly, because you had one season with Mel and 2 seasons with Ace.
It happened linearly, except for things like that went off into crossovers, that like time crash. It's like you have to. every so often you have to add in a few years that exist solely to make crossovers make sense.
Yeah, but usually they happen when the Doctor's on his own, or they
Yeah.
have to completely and utterly
yeah,
BS
yeah.
something, like why the Doctor and Jamie were together in the TARDIS for the Two Doctors. But we're tangenting again.
Yeah,
At least
oh, yeah,
that's on the subject of Doctor Who this time, which is better than last week.
Sorry, yeah, we were summarizing this episode.
And
Yeah.
by the way, I don't think that was a locked door. I believe that was actually an elevator.
Might have been an elevator, yes.
Because I remember the Doctor referencing it's coming down.
Regardless, they then flee from the two very large dinosaurs that are currently running through the hallways.
Smashing into each other as well as the hall itself.
Everybody's a little gobsmacked by this, and shortly thereafter the Doctor finds a control panel and winds up teleporting himself, Rory, and Rory's dad to a beach.
But it's not really the beach, it's the generator.
It's the engine room.
And the beach is
Meanwhile,
actually a wave
this
generator.
is Amy, Nefertiti, and our big game hunter to try to solve out what else is going on by themselves. The Doctor realizes that things are not quite what they seem to be, asks Rory and Rory's dad to dig on the beach, for which Rory's dad produces a trowel for no reason, other than apparently some people carry a towel, he carries a trowel. Go fig. And discovers, yes, the floor below the beach is metal. The Doctor then realizes the whole thing's an engine room, and then they're forced to run from some pterodactyls into a cave where they're captured by robots.
And Rory demonstrates he's not as clueless as he was in the episode prior, because
Yes.
he's able to interpret Doctor speech for his father.
True. So they wind up getting captured. In the meantime, the other three managed to find a data terminal that has some records, including the ship's log, by a Silurian captain. This is the point that I personally went from what to okay, starting to make some sense now.
Yay, Silurians,
And
they make all kinds of sense.
I would point out that I don't think Amy ever heard the word Silurian on screen before she said it.
Oh. First appearance was, I think, in the new series, fifth series.
They appeared in a two-parter, but I don't think they were ever referred to as Silurians in that episode or in.
They were referred to it, but you might be correct because I think Amy was captured by that point.
Well, I'd
have to break out my fifth season box set and take a look.
I thought they were only referred to as Homo reptilius.
I think they were. They were referred to as Ceruleans, just never around Amy.
Yeah, because she was captured by that point. It was the Doctor referring to the other people.
Right. I mean, that's not necessarily to say it's a plot point, because obviously these people talk when they're off camera, but I just thought it was worth bringing
It also could have been that the Doctor explained everything afterwards off camera again.
Well, he didn't explain that she had a fiancé who no longer existed.
True, but that's really hard to do when the memory's been erased.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Rory's been kind of erased from existence. But that's going back to reviewing the fifth series. So,
Fifth, I thought it was sixth.
no, that whole thing
No,
was...
6 was Rivers' season.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, never mind.
And don't get me started on that Don't get me started on that series.
Froggle, froggle, roggle, bloggle.
Anyway, so the Doctor is marched to a ship in the center of the ship, which is apparently a ship that boarded it. The Doctor is taken to a man who apparently works for the robots, or apparently is the boss of the robots that captured them.
He's also
And
Argus
he
Filch.
describes himself as a collector. Was there a comment there?
I said he's also Argus Filch.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
That's
I know.
why he was familiar.
Mer?
Oh,
was
we
trying to
are
place
in
him.
trouble.
I've seen this
How
episode
long it's
described
been
as
since
Arthur
watching the
Weasley
Harry
versus Argus
Potter
Filch.
Anyway, He's been horribly wounded by a dinosaur and cannot use his legs. And since a doctor, which he overheard earlier, he wants him to fix his legs.
That's the whole reason for the psychic message.
No, the psychic message was from the ISA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why he's there.
How'd they send a psychic message?
The future!
That's a good, curious question. And one that's not answered in this episode. So, when the doctor starts asking a few questions, he orders his robots to injure one of the two companions he's with. They arbitrarily choose Rory's father, which gives Rory a chance to show...
he did specifically say injure the older one.
He did say the older one, okay. Which, of course, pisses the doctor off.
But Rory gets to pull out his little medi-pack.
Yeah, Rory gets to show his nursing skills, pulls out the medi-pack, and fixes his father up.
How did I forget Rory was a nurse? Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while since
Yeah,
that's come up.
that too.
Like, I don't think he's actually done any nursing since, what, the 11th hour?
No, there was one of those alternate universe episodes where I think he'd actually become a doctor by that point. Because I think he was the country doctor for that little town that they lived in originally.
What was that, the Wedding of River Song or something?
No, that was the one with the dream manifestation where they kept falling asleep.
Oh, okay. I think I actually, due to Netflix problems, skipped half of that episode. Okay.
Netflix!
Or I just wasn't paying attention, one of the two.
Yeah.
In any way, the doctor winds up fixing the guy, and he discovers a few things after he gets a call from Amy. Well, actually, Rory gets the call and hands it over to the doctor when Amy informs him that the ship was made by Silurians, who were missing. Upon questioning the Collector about this, he mentions the fact that he basically spaced the entire ship's crew. This pretty much sets him up as the ultimate rat bastard of this group. Of this whole episode, I should say. And then he scans the doctor and discovers nothing. No information.
That's never happened before, I believe was the quote.
Yes, he says that in shock. In any case, the doctor manages to trick the robots into letting him escape with his two friends, and they go running off on a Triceratops.
Epic chase.
He's pursued by two rusty robots.
You are running away from robots on a Triceratops. Only in Doctor Who.
Or Power Rangers.
That's possible, I guess.
Maybe Zoo Ranger.
But anyway.
After a bit of running about with the dinosaurs, the Collector materializes around them and says, "Yes, they're right. Missiles are aimed at this ship, and he can't save himself and the dinosaurs, so he'll let the Doctor have them in exchange for the most valuable thing he's found on this ship, Nefertiti." The Doctor is saying no to this, but then Nefertiti manages to use one of the teleports to the location, and agrees. Against the Doctor's wishes.
Probably because, like most companions, they realize that this is going to buy him some time.
After the Collector proves himself to be once more a massive jerk, he hauls her away with the robots, and the Doctor develops a plan on how to save everybody. Because, of course, that's what the Doctor does.
Mm-hmm.
They get to the pilot's compartment, which requires two people of the same gene lineage to pilot the ship. Well, that leaves Rory and Rory's dad. pilot the ship while the Doctor manages to find a way to have the missiles track not this ship, but a small cube, which he then puts on the Collector ship. Reed gets Nefertiti and sends the ship off into space, leaving the missiles to track it, while Rory and his father pull the ship out of the direct heading towards the Earth, saving everybody, and basically they all go home. At the end, apparently Nefertiti elects to stay with the big game hunter, who's been flirting with each other for most of the episode.
After they meet,
And Rory's dad, who was never much of a traveler before this, goes on a massive world vacation. There were some other points, but those were the key ones, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
So where do we start? Silence.
To be honest, I liked this episode better than I liked last week's episode.
Oh yeah.
This is not
Yeah,
a
yeah.
hallmark Doctor Who episode. No. But there were gaffes, but they weren't blaring at me like they were last week, and that was after 3 watches. So
If anything, this just felt like it was like one of those things they do. Like, let's just have fun for an episode, and like nothing really matters too much, but we're just going to do something that's fun, and that's what it felt like to me, anyway.
yeah,
It was. It's what bothered me on occasion was pretty much some of the lines by the Doctor and such, where it just seemed like almost like it was being written by someone who had never watched the show at times. Like for example, to mention what I mentioned earlier, the thing about Rory's dad being on there, which I'll mention him because he was one of the things I liked about the episode. But
yeah, me too.
He had no
Yeah.
problem. He had no problem with a girl showing up out of nowhere, pointing a gun at his head and saying, "Let's go where I say through time now, or I'll shoot you in the head." He had no problem with that. He had no problem with being launched at a planet. No emotional response. He's just like, "Oh, fine. I'll be launched through a planet." But how dare his friend's father be on the TARDIS? Why? It's like it just feels like I could see the Doctor, yes, in the past getting mad about this, but the 11th Doctor, it doesn't seem to fit. It does not work with his character. It doesn't seem to work with anything he's ever said or done, and that
It's more of the 10th response.
Yeah, exactly. I could see David Tennant pulling off that scene without me having any complaint. But the way that Matt Smith has been written and acted up to this point, it just felt like a completely different character.
Also, the one thing that does bother me was the ending. He basically sent the Collector away with missiles chasing him to be killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That
does
actually
seem.
shocked
Yeah,
me.
it does seem like this is kind of meant to be a Tenet episode, actually.
That didn't bother me as much. Like, I've seen people mention that, and yes, that is also something that doesn't seem very characteristic of 11, but at the same time, I don't know, he does seem... I don't know.
At the same
I don't-
time, he helped try to
I-
save the Silurians how many times, and now this jagoff just dropped off an entire crew of them into space to die?
That was the part of it. Yeah, this guy callously
Yeah, and
saves
it's just like...
entire
It
crew.
didn't bother me because one, I guess you just see more. There's more anger in the way the Doctor's written this season, so it kind of feels more natural. Like if 9 or 10 did it, there'd be it probably would not really elicit a reaction from people. 11,
If 10 did it, I could see it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
11
mean,
just
that
seems
was-
really
that
angry
was
today.
Almost,
Tennant wouldn't have
that was
done-
almost as bad as
You know what?
Fury of Time Lord.
You know what Tennant would have done? Tennant would have brought him back in time and dropped him off in front of a group of angry Silurians who had just been wronged by humans, and then left. Or he would have imprisoned him to be fossilized alive while watching
Yeah.
dinosaurs roam for the rest of eternity or something.
If anything, I thought that he was going to find a way to actually get away from the missiles or something, or they just sort of they'd leave on a shot of the last shot of him would just be like him being chased off by them, not actually show the ship blowing up.
Which they did, which, was kind of a jaw-dropper for me. Now, it's always possible he managed to have an escape pod. We don't know, but...
Or another, or a teleport or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, he did have a working teleport.
I'm trying to remember what was the other thing that bothered me about. There's something else the doctor said that just struck me the wrong way. But I can't remember what it was right off.
Yeah, I don't remember anything off the top of my head.
I did like the Silurian joke, though. He made a little joke about, well, this is a really simple contraption to steer the ship. Even a monkey could do it. Looking at the two humans. Ha! Monkeys! Yes! Oh, come on, if you were a group of Silurians, you'd be laughing your asses off right now.
If anything, that the line when they first showed up on the ship, for some reason I thought he was channeling what's his name again? The first guy to play Willy Wonka in a movie. For some reason his name escapes me.
Wilder?
No, is that his name?
Gene Wilder, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason it felt like his Willy Wonka for a second there when they showed up, and I was like,
That's really a fitting.
what?
Willy Wonka and the Doctor. That really fits.
Yeah, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
The Doctor is kind of a temporal Willy Wonka. Or Willy Wonka is a chocolate-making doctor. Either way.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka is secretly a
just the
Time
way-
Lord, just like
Like,
James Bond.
Just the way he was reacting was like, wait a sec. This seems familiar, but it doesn't seem like the Doctor for some reason.
That really fits. I kind of wish that he played the Doctor at some point now.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gene Wilder would have made a kick-ass doctor.
Oh God, I'm getting lines from Young Frankenstein now mixed in with Doctor moments. Oh God.
Since I've been the negative one so far, I will bring up probably my favorite part of the episode, which even though it was kind of unnecessary, but at the same time, I guess it was well written enough to be acceptable. Was Rory's father, which played by Brian Williams.
Yeah.
His name in the episode was Brian Williams. Kind of an interesting meta touch there.
I think, and I am not sure about this. This is me guessing. That character might have a little more to do in next week's episode. Not next week's episode that we're reviewing, the actual airing episode that's coming out on Saturday. That's supposed to be more of the pawns
And
at home.
for those listening to this after the fact, he's referring to Power of Three.
Thank you, but not remember the episode name.
Yeah. Ouch.
I know that the name was changed like 3-4 times during production, so...
I'm honestly, I already know I'm going to be disappointed by this just because I've seen fan posters of. Anybody see the fan posters of Matt Smith, David Tennant, and Billy Piper for Power of Three?
No.
Oh, and I'm like,
No.
I just now that I've got that stuck in my head, no matter what happens, I'm going to be disappointed.
But yeah, I also liked Rory's dad in this. The way the character seemed to evolve from being.
Yeah, and there was that. Yeah, the motion, and he interacted with maybe not every, but the various interactions were done well. He interacted, with Rory, with the Doctor. I kind of had a chuckle at the line where he was like, he's like something, Brian Pond, and he's just like, I'm not a pond, and I believe the Doctor's reaction was like, sure you are.
Of course you are. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that was a very 11 line.
Yes, it was. My favorite part was right before the end, where you had Rory's dad sitting off the edge of the TARDIS in the door, watching the Earth.
That was a great, that was a Doctor Who moment there.
Best seat in the
having his
house.
lunch.
Best seat in the
And
house.
watching the return, it was just great.
I was actually kind of surprised that when that Triceratops dies, I was actually like, oh, that sucks. Like, I actually, like,
Yeah,
I didn't like feel
didn't
too
expect
emotionally
something that dark
invested,
to
but
happen
like at
there,
the
yeah.
same time, it was actually sort of like, wow, I actually sort of give a crap. That's weird.
Yeah, well, it was just more pounding into your head how much of a jerk this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would have had more effect if the dinosaurs were used a little bit more, other than, as an excuse to name the episode that. Like, if if there had been more interaction with different dinosaurs and such.
It would awesome if that T-Rex accidentally woke up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have
Like, yeah,
been.
it's like, I definitely, if I had to pick of any of the dinosaurs in the episode, one that would probably die, I would not have guessed the Triceratops.
Mm-hmm.
No. However, the Triceratops is indirectly responsible for the worst joke of the entire episode.
Oh.
Oh,
Yes.
God. Yeah, go ahead, explain it.
When they first meet the Triceratops, it basically comes up and starts sniffing at Rory's father. And the doctor goes, "Do you have any plant matter in your pockets?" And he's like, "Well, just my balls." And everyone stares at him for a moment before he pulls out a pair of golf balls. And I'm like, really? You went there?
Why not?
That actually kind of surprised me too.
I really loved Rory's reaction, because it was just like, you get the idea that he knew what he was talking about, but at the same time he couldn't stand the pun. He just groaned and looked at him. He's like, "Oh, really?" It's like, I think that just summed up the joke right there.
Yeah, it was bad. It was a bad attempt at lowbrow humor. Really not what you expect from Doctor Who.
Doctor Who never tried
But
lowbrow.
in my mind, that was the low part of the episode. So. The first time I watched this, the anal retentive part of myself was like, so they leave Queen Nefertiti completely out of time. Because at the end...
Yeah, that shocked me.
Then I did a little research and discover about 17 years into Queen Nefertiti's reign, she vanishes from the record.
Yeah.
And immediately my brain just went, oh, okay.
Oh, you
Actually thought that one through.
Yeah, that was like, okay, well, she's gone. She's never mentioned again throughout the reign of Amenhotep, so, yeah.
I speaking of being anal retentive, I finally remember the other line that pissed me off.
Go ahead.
When the doctor was like, "I've never had a gang before." Like,
Yeah,
really, 'cause
that got me too.
I think traveling with, Jackie, Rose, and Mickey together, or, having Jack, Jackie, Rose, Martha, and Donna all at the same time, or, any of those other times when he had more than one person with him, I would think those count.
Well,
I was
then
actually
again,
think-
he
I was
also
actually
has been
thinking of,
referring
like-
to him as this incarnation.
I'm trying to think now. Well, but then how many people... How does 4 people count as a gang, but 3 doesn't? Because he's traveled with Amy, River, and Rory together.
Actually, it was 6 this time.
Or you could even count traveling with...
Really, that's just traveling with a family.
Yeah. Or you could count, damn it.
I was gonna go like so far back as the War Games when they were trying to get all those people together to go after the guys in charge of it.
Does a good man goes to war count? If we're only counting 11th Doctor?
True. I hadn't actually thought about that. Then again, I try to repress as much of season 6 as possible.
Yes, but that two-parter is probably my favorite 11th Doctor episode.
Pat you in the head.
Anything
Bill,
where you
so you're
put
doing
River Song in it, I automatically
But
try
River's song is only in the last 10 minutes of a two-parter, so she's basically not there. Well,
It was still about her.
Unless you count her as an infant, but I don't really... Okay, the explanation for her is stupid, but
Yeah, and
I
I like I said, she's not in this episode. I will wait until he comes in here at some point and go on probably my 30-minute rant on that.
Yeah, it's like I kind of separate the action of that episode and the MOFAT of that episode.
Okay.
All right. So, any other particular points that were either highs or lows for this episode?
I would have to agree that there needed to be a few more dinosaurs. Otherwise, it was okay. Being a dinosaur fan, henceforth leading to my Godzilla fandom, but yeah. That's another story.
I kind of agree. A certain tokusatsu reviewer that some people might know, I believe he posted either Facebook or Twitter that if he ran across a Triceratops on a spaceship, he would have named it Billy for obvious reasons. I kind of agree with that. And I will always think of the Triceratops in this episode as Billy because of that.
Billy. Why does that sound familiar?
Billy Cranston? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
Oh! Duh! It's like, there's a connection going somewhere, but I can't quite see where it's going. Oh! Right.
Maybe if he had a deep blue sonic screwdriver. Might have been enough.
I'll bring up the deep blue sonic screwdriver, don't we?
Yes, I just brought up an inside joke on air, and I'm not going to explain it, because that's what the doctor does.
That's my superhero name.
No, you'll explain later.
Yeah, okay, there you go. In an alternate timeline.
Yeah, exactly.
If anything, the other thing I liked was just the call back to the Ceruleans, if anything, because I was like, well, this I remember. So
yeah,
because I don't think I've seen too much of Matt Smith's run, so that was like, there's something that I remember.
I would say that was mostly good, but also a slight annoyance because I was like, if you're going to bring Silurians into it, give us a live Silurian. I mean,
that would have been nice to have like one or two survivors that he missed.
Yeah, or like a dying Silurian that the doctor finds, and can't save, and that's what incites him to find out who what the cause of this tragedy is. That would be a more doctor thing to get excited about than there are dinosaurs on a spaceship.
Yes, but childhood glee cannot get rid of the fact of dinosaurs on a spaceship.
Like I said, I liked the episode. It was good, not great. Good. I hate the name.
It's my second favorite dinosaur episode of Doctor Who.
First favorite?
Just calling it Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, it's like, come on, guys, lame.
Yeah, that's really not especially like I've been just looking at Doctor Who titles, and I'm just like, it really does not. I mean, I know the new show, the titles are I think a little different than the old show, but even then, it just doesn't look like a Doctor Who title.
It looks like they just said, "Well, that's the plot, so let's call that the episode."
Yeah. Yep.
I would have rather if they named it Filch versus Weasley.
I would vote for Dinosaurs in Space myself.
I would definitely say that those two characters, the acting was phenomenal, and having those two was definitely a great. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of it. The fact I'm sure there was some degree of pandering to the fans and such, but at the same time, it was with reason because that was great. They both did an excellent job.
Yes, they did.
Now, I don't know if I would say the same thing about Nefertiti.
She was okay.
She was okay, but she was just kind of there to hit on the guys.
It wasn't too bad.
She just seemed more like an archetype than a character.
Mm-hmm.
But really, when you're playing a historical character that we really have no real knowledge on how they acted.
She was there to act headstrong. That's what she was there for. To act like a headstrong woman who, she seems to be strong, but her really only purpose in being in this episode is to try and find a mate. I mean, I guess someone got the idea, hey, Nefertiti disappeared, so let's put her in this episode as a way to explain her disappearance, and that's how she got in there in the first place. But that's not something they touch on in the episode. Like, they don't even mention, where, this is a mystery and now we've solved it. They don't even mention that. So
yeah, I think they wanted her in there as a yin to the Game Hunter's yang, but really this episode could have gone off without either of those two.
yes, it could have very much.
Yeah.
And
If anything with that Game Hunter dude, does anyone even remember? Was he actually named?
He was named. I
yes.
can't remember it for the life of me.
his name.
Because even when I was watching the episode, I totally forgot his name. I was like,
Yeah,
damn,
his
I didn't
name
realize
was
this guy was that
something-
forgettable.
His name was John Riddell.
Riddell, that's it.
That's it. Because I was like, even when I was watching it, I was like, okay, I've already forgotten this guy's name.
Yeah, he was. both of those characters were forgettable. They were tossed in there, and they didn't need to be tossed in there.
With Nefertiti, I pretty much got that nostalgia chick, strong, independent woman thing stuck in my head.
She's one of those women who's made to look strong, but if you actually analyze her, she's there to want to mate with the Doctor. He says no, so she settles for a headstrong man who feels women are beneath him. That doesn't make her a strong woman.
No, that was those. They didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
The episode,
If anything,
the episode I think would have been even slightly better without them.
Yeah, I mean, if anything,
Yeah, felt kind of random.
it's like they could have put, if they really wanted someone for those roles, they could have put other people in who could work better, like, a unit callback, those are always nice. Or Mickey and Martha I mentioned, or hell, Jack and Gwen, if we're gonna go that way. Or
you're right. A unit call would have been nice. It would really be nice to know what like Benton has been up to.
Especially since they wouldn't let Tennant talk to the Brigadier, but I know the actor who plays him, I think, is still alive.
The Brigadier? No, he died.
Oh, okay. Oh, because I saw something
he
that
died
made me
the
think.
same year that Elizabeth Sladen died. They died 2 months from each other.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Now, I do remember hearing about that now. You're right.
I made a music video about that.
They both died of cancer. Which really makes you wonder what was in those old BBC studios.
Well, they burned enough stuff.
They burned enough of the footage.
I guess they stopped burning things by the time the Third Doctor came around, maybe, but either way.
Later in the Third Doctor.
Ah.
There's still like a first season or two of the Third Doctor. There's a missing episode that needs color.
There were some missing color episodes. They all exist in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they're slowly working on trying to regain the color on those episodes. They just found one of them not that long ago.
I mean, that's one of those things, you could outsource that to fans. Like, I've heard of fans coloring in, Troughton episodes.
Yeah, but they're really careful about this. They like to have at least one of the episodes with a color reel that they can actually convert the original colors from. Like I said, it was the very first. No, it was like the second Third Doctor episode had been in black and white forever, and they just found a master, I think, in Korea, or a colored tape of it in Korea, and they're using that to restore the entire 4 episodes. So that'll be nice. Yeah, those missing episodes are always going to bother me. When I was a kid, would watch First Doctor, and we'd get about halfway through the First Doctor, and it would start skipping into the Second Doctor, and I'm like, what? Huh? And we had about 3 Second Doctor episodes before they started on the third.
The invasion.
Yeah, I haven't gotten heavily into the Second Doctor yet. I'm waiting to see what...
Well,
I'm sure I'm going to be frustrated there.
Oh, yeah, it's a real... I mean, if you're a completionist, like I was as a kid, I mean, I had my VCR set to record every episode as it came on WHA just so I could watch them, and I had them numbered by what order they were. And
yeah, of course, there's also the fact the internet has, reconstructed episodes. You didn't have those on TV and such.
Yeah, but they're,
So at
they're
least-
still only reconstruction from production still, so you get the audio,
Yeah.
a bunch of still pictures.
Right. Well, there's also the fact that I usually when I watch a show, I usually throw it on. I mainly listen to the audio and I watch it out of the corner of my eye unless I know something that needs my full attention is happening. So that mostly works for me, except for episodes that are visual intensive.
Yeah, for me, I will watch it the first time. I will start only listening to it on my second or third.
Oh, see, there's no way I'm gonna have time to straight up watch 30-something episodes unless I'm without multitasking. 30-something seasons.
For me, well, I've already watched the majority of Doctor Who, with the exception of those missing episodes. Every now and then I find a story arc I missed, and I will sit down and watch it diligently.
This is why I like being a fan of The Invasion. The Invasion has a reanimated thing.
Yeah, I have not seen that yet. I really need to borrow that from you. Because I know he has it, because he used it at our convention last year. And it's one of those that I haven't seen, and it annoys me that it's out there and I haven't seen it. It'll just eat at me.
It's awesome.
So I hear. And I will borrow it at one point.
But yeah, I would go into other details, but yeah. So, actually, any more thoughts on this? Yeah, it was a pretty decent episode.
Anything else?
Oh,
I think
We're barely an hour in here.
Yeah, we're an hour now. Oh my God, this is actually a good time if we wanted to to do any of those segments that we didn't do last week that we had discussed. It also helps that we're shorter person, so there's literally less input and less back and forth.
True. Yeah. Yeah. Flynn's kind
If anything-
of like the Siskel to my Ebert, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
We will butt heads.
as long as it doesn't
If
get
anything,
personal.
going back to that, that line where he goes on about I'm not a taxi service or whatever, that kind of confused me for the simple fact that he'd already brought along, Nefertiti, I guess she kind of forced herself into it, but the other guy he went out of his way to get. So I was like,
he's
wait a sec.
random people.
I don't even know why he picked him up. All he knew is there's a ship about to crash into the Earth with 6 hours before the missiles launch. He doesn't know what's on the ship. He doesn't know who's on the ship. So he goes to the depths of Africa and picks up a big game hunter?
Who he's never worked with before.
Well, apparently he's met him and they had an adventure off screen. So the question becomes, why?
Yeah.
Normally he'd just blunder into those things by himself. Hello, I'm the doctor.
Yeah. It's like he didn't even, he didn't even need to go pick up Amy and Rory, but he was just
No.
With the first episode, it was like, all right, they were all sort of forced. They were all forced into it by the Daleks. In this one, it's sort of him just going around picking people up and then bringing them along.
Yeah.
If he'd showed up, gotten on the ship, discovered there were dinosaurs, and then went to get the big game hunter and told him tranquilizers only.
Why does a person who he's not necessarily a pacifist, but he doesn't want the he wouldn't go into this thing thinking we should shoot the dinosaurs. So why does he go and get a hunter?
He gets the hunter before he even knows there's dinosaurs.
He said he had a feeling. So let's say he had a feeling. He's somewhat psychic. Let's say he had a feeling that there was dinosaurs and he would need to be prepared, or he didn't know it was dinosaurs, but he needed to be prepared. Why would he bring a guy who would shoot the dinosaurs if he's he doesn't want them shot?
And he doesn't even bring a gun. He doesn't even bring a gun. He brings a knife.
He's not a gun person. So even being friends with this big game hunter who's all about the gun makes no sense.
None whatsoever.
And he even voiced displeasure at the woman using missiles to destroy the ship. Why is he friends with a big game hunter then?
I do want to touch on one thing, and this would be great if Flynn were here, because this was kind of a thesis that Flynn was bringing up, and I wanted to talk to him about it today. But I'll be glad to get his input later. The scanning the Doctor and finding no information on him. This is a new thing because if we remember throughout all of Russell T Davies' run and season 5, the Doctor was everywhere. He was on the internet. You know, the Atraxi had a full record of everything he'd ever done. The Cybermen had a full record of everything he'd ever done. The Daleks had a full record of everything. You know, he was everywhere. You know, you could not do Google the Doctor without finding, you know, Linda and everything else. And now all of this information is gone. So
that's a little. That I did think was a little weird.
And it's like I'm kind of curious, both in and out of universe, where the role
the Doctor's also removed himself before. If you remember the Bad Wolf virus. That corrupted a lot of the information on him, but apparently he built that up between the end of season 1 and the end of the Tennant years.
Yeah.
Well, he definitely got himself re-noticed by Torchwood.
I mean, obviously, it would be within the Doctor's means. It would be within, you know, within his friends' means. But I mean, it's because I've always seen 11 as, you know, the guy in season 5. He really loves to, you know, to throw out his name and say, you know, I'm the Doctor, and he used his name as the main weapon he used. And Flynn mentioned that was a Tennant thing, but I'm like, I never realized, like, Tennant would, yes, he would make threats, but he wouldn't be like, you know, I will destroy you because I'm the Doctor. No, it would be more, I will destroy you because you're threatening the ones I love.
Tennant did do that on occasion. If you remember Tennant versus the Vashta Narada in Silence of the Library.
But, yeah, and that was also and of course that was also a Moffat episode, not a Davies one.
Yes, but it was Tennant era.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it seems they have different interpretations of Tennant, of the Tennant Doctor era, which is kind of weird.
But really, that's the whole purpose, is the fact that the season the Doctor has thought he stuck his neck out too far. I think them doing this is too soon.
It's like I kind of see Tennant as, you know, I think of the Idiot's Lantern as a really strong Tennant, you know, as far as threats and such that he makes. He's you know, it's more, you know, you're interfering with the people that, you know, with the people I care for, and that is why I am going to fucking end your shit. Not, you know, he doesn't turn, you know, I haven't really seen him turn around and be like, I'm the Doctor, so you better, you know, give up now. It was like he didn't, you know, even against the Daleks, he didn't seem to be quite that way. He was, you know, I mean, he definitely had his ego. He was definitely cocky. You know, he definitely believed that, you know, he was, you know, Space Jesus, but not that way.
That was RTD's thing. He definitely gave him a Jesus complex.
Especially toward the end of the run when he was running around without a companion, which is something I kind of like about, not to get into spoilers or anything, but that was something I kind of liked about A Town Called Mercy, where Amy brings us up. He's like, you see what happens when you travel without a companion for too long? And it's like, you know, and I was like, at least, I mean, I don't know enough about Classic Who to say, you know, to compare to then, but it's, you know, and at least
the thing is,
that's kind of, you know, that is a standard.
Classic Who, he was almost never without a companion,
The only time
with the exception of the Deadly Assassin.
Yeah, the only time I can think of that he was without a companion was Deadly Assassin, and that was because he went, Sergeant, where I'm going is too dangerous. You are staying here.
Even before the stuff that takes place before the Hartnell era started, he still had Susan with him. So
right. He had Susan, and then Susan.
I say that, but I think the Five Doctors is the only one that actually takes place before the Hartnell era started. At least the Hartnell part of it. Well, he's not Hartnell there. He's I forget.
Yeah, the guy that replaced him for that, and then died about a year later.
Yeah. Who they literally saw in an episode of Blake 7 and went, he'd make a great replacement Hartnell.
He does. Like, if I didn't know it was a different person and I didn't know that Hartnell only existed in black and white, I probably would have thought they were the same person.
He was a very close ringer, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Yeah,
the,
I just
even the gal
find
who
it
played-
funny that they found him on an episode of Blake 7, which was, of course, the other big BBC sci-fi at the time.
which they are also talking about bringing back. They're bringing back all their sci-fi shows lately.
Sci-fi's popular now. It makes sense.
Yeah, tell that to the Sci-Fi Channel. Excuse me.
I don't think there is a sci-fi channel. No, it's still called Sci-Fi Channel, I think, in Australia, right, Thomas?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Sci-fi.
They haven't changed the spelling
Not the
yet,
U.S.
I don't think.
anymore. They changed their name to SYFY, and they want to be the next Spike TV.
Yeah, they're syphilis channel.
Excuse me while I gag on that concept.
Wrestling on your
I'm sorry,
sci-fi
they
channel.
just kind of alienated their audience and dropped the ball.
Yeah.
I knew they dropped
Why
the
we're
ball
not
when they
watching
lost their
BBC.
license for Doctor Who. It's like, really?
Wow, they lost their
They-
license over there?
They had
Oh,
Doctor
yeah,
Who?
it was picked up by BBC America.
Oh, wow. It
Good,
still,
because
it still
the
plays on
BBC
sci-fi
actually
over here.
talk to itself, so to speak, and go, yeah, we're now airing this stuff the same week that we are on the BBC. Or just 6 hours later.
Ha. Gotcha.
I
think they also
Wait,
dropped
I
Being
just
Human,
they
didn't
just
they?
air old stuff on. They air the old stuff on Sci-Fi Channel over here in sort of like 2-episode blocks or something.
BBC Worldwide here charges way too much for it. It's why we used to have Doctor Who on public television all the time. And now I think there may be 3 PBS stations in the country that still air it. And they have really big market audiences.
Yeah.
Therefore, when they do a pledge drive, they get enough money to actually keep it on the air. Other than that, no, Classic Who has not been seen domestically. I make it a point. If you didn't catch it last week, I'm a staff at a convention, and I make it a point. I'm actually the head of the viewings department. I make it a point to show 2 to 3 episodes of classic Doctor Who every year. I have a deal with the BBC, and they're one of our higher attended stuff because the current audience that we get just have never seen it before. So to them, it's fascinating. Where, you mention Tennant or Matt Smith stuff, they're just like, I've seen it already.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hello, Napa.
Yeah, my cat apparently wants attention.
Oh, that's something I forgot to bring up. Some of the CG in this episode kind of stood out as a bit iffy.
A little dodgy,
Like-
yeah. There's a couple of the
Yeah.
Triceratops scenes. I was just like,
Yeah.
I've seen better.
Hmm.
We saw better when we
back
had
from
werewolf.
Tennant era,
And the villain ship was also like, wait, really? That stands out like an early PS2
The impression that I'm
graphic or
getting is that these 5 episodes, right? It's 5 episodes from start of season to the Christmas special, right? There's those 5 episodes with the ponds.
yeah, it's basically going through September, and then they're pausing
It's
until
like
Christmas.
basically the impression I'm getting is that these 5 episodes, the budget went into making them all different, but not into making them all good. Like, they're not terrible,
Hmm.
but they're all, they're basically putting the budget into a different thing each week versus we're really going to refine this effect and make it good. That's not where the budget is necessarily going. Or should I say that's not where the focus and effort are going. The focus is making different things.
Now, if you back up to 2006, and you look at Tooth and Claw,
Yes.
and the werewolf they did in Tooth and Claw, that was a fairly awesome effect.
That has
As
to be
compared to
the
the-
only
as
decent werewolf effect I have seen since Universal. Actually, no, since the Hammer Wolfman movies.
And I haven't really seen that level of effects since then.
Sadly.
Most of the Tennant era stuff has been pretty good, but the Smith era stuff hasn't been the best effects-wise. I'm kind of wondering if they got a budget cut there somewhere.
Of course, then again, you think back, and then again, you think back to that area, then you think of the Rex Orca costumes, which were kind of terrible.
The Slovene?
At least not, I shouldn't say terrible, but they...
Slovene
more
never
comedic.
should have been on Doctor Who.
Say again?
Slovene never should have been on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You notice after like the first season, they kind of moved them to Sarah Jane Adventures, where they fit fine.
Mm-hmm.
Although,
But really, that was also you went there when they were talking, when they were like, you're doing fart jokes for an alien race.
Yeah.
For an entire episode. Guys, really?
Since I brought up Slovenes, anybody mind if I rant about the Pandorica Opens?
Go ahead.
Okay.
We've got time, apparently.
I've been holding back this rant for a long time. What I'm trying to figure out about people who really love the Moffat run talk about the Pandorica Opens, as being one of this great ending. But what I see every time, all I can ever see when I look at this episode is the Daleks. By the way, there are 5 of them because they exterminated the rest of them, or so it seemed based on that episode.
They exterminated the ones that were dealing with they
exterminated the rest of the survivors from the Stolen Earth. So these 5 Daleks go back in time to the Cybermen, who are their enemies, the Slovene, who are not mad at the Doctor yet, the Shadow Proclamation, who are not mad at the Doctor yet and are their enemies, and a few other species that probably couldn't care less about Daleks, so let's say they went along with it. But these people who have no grudge against the Doctor and won't have a grudge against him for hundreds of years, or if not thousands, and manage to convince them that he is the greatest threat to the universe ever.
Well, in its defense, and this is going to be a weak defense, as I'm not fond of the Moffat era myself, Cybermen themselves have some form of time travel.
Yes,
they have used it before.
Oh, they do. I had not seen that then.
That was very much a
fifth,
sixth Doctor sort of
Although I
thing.
would point out that these are not Mondas Cybermen, these are alternate Earth with Zeppelin's Cybermen.
Correct.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure if that distinction was necessarily correct for the Pandorica Opens.
Or actually,
They were using the same models, but I think they took the Cybus symbol off of them.
I should ask though, and the second Doctor through the 7th, are those the same ones that you see in the 10th planet, or are they different? Like in terms of origin-wise?
The model of them evolve.
Right, I know that.
But
Yeah.
they're all still Mondas Cybermen.
Yes.
Okay. Are they?
I basically think of them as the Cybermen and the Cybus Men, really.
Like, I'm kind of curious. Like, did they leave the planet before it exploded, or are they survived and came back?
There were apparently an expeditionary force
Okay.
that appeared afterwards and is the origin for most of the rest of the Cybermen episodes.
Makes sense.
Because they
one
found victims
Cyberman
out in
survived the
space.
cyber conversion unit.
Because apparently there were 3 groups. There was the original Mondas group, there was the expeditionary force, and there was the Talos Cybermen, which showed up at the second Doctor episode, Tomb of the Cybermen, which was kind of their adopted home world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they made a second world. Okay.
We actually did go back to Talos too in the 6th Doctor episode I was mentioning earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, they do go
But
back
yeah,
to
if it
Talos,
was
and they're
Cybermen
all over.
in the Pandorica Opens, then that would definitely be a gap because they only had access to transdimensional travel, not time travel.
Actually, that's true. Considering he did say the Cybermen weren't part of the Time War, so it's not like they were erased from existing. They were just all killed by the time 2005 came around. So they were, in the Roman.
The original Mondas Cybermen were on the verge of extinction for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But
But they always
if I
find a way to come
remember
back.
hearing what was going on in the background, it might have been the Cybermen models they used, but it was only because they didn't have time to fix and update them so that they... Yeah, they were supposed to be Mondas Cybermen, from what I heard.
Or at the least one of the related offshoots.
Mm-hmm.
The Mondas ones, unless I can't really, because I don't know how far back in their history he's gone and interfered. As far as I know, the first time he met them was 1986, but that's not necessarily saying that's the first time he met them.
Well, technically, the Sixth Doctor one happened in 1985, but that's still not that much of a difference.
That would make it a year before the time the first.
And that was technically future Cybermen going back in time to try to prevent the entire Mondas from being destroyed. Which is why I said yes, the Cybermen have time travel.
Yes,
Okay.
they do.
They stole it from another race.
Mm-hmm.
You know who I want to see in Doctor Who? Tralfamadorians.
Wait,
The what now?
Anybody here read Kurt Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse-5?
Not since I was in high school.
Yeah. Well, but they're essentially aliens that see all of time. They don't see time linearly. They basically just see everything as though it's happening. Everything as though it's already happened or is happening now. They see after their death. They see before they were born. From their birth to their death, as if it were happening or all happened already. So it would be kind of interesting to see the way they would interplay with a Time Lord.
Oh yeah, there's always had many things I would love to see interact with a Time Lord, but that's the realm of fan fiction, which is not what we're going to be talking about.
No.
We can go about Randy's fan fiction, though.
No, thank you.
Remember, all of fiction is canon in Doctor Who. So, if Vonnegut Estate gives them the rights, they could certainly appear in an episode.
So technically, a fan fiction about Doctor Who crossing over with Godzilla is canon?
Could be.
Because that's
Give me
mine.
a week, Matt. I could write that.
If they could get the rights from Toho, which might be hard after what America did to it.
Oh,
Her?
yeah. American Godzilla, Matt.
Oh, yeah. Well,
The Godzilla that was so bad that the Japanese had to recreate it just so they could beat the crap out of it.
The one that was so bad that they had to restart the series that was going to lie dormant for another decade just to recover from the PR mess.
Yeah.
Have you heard rumors that they're going to try and bring that back again? American Godzilla.
Well, they're making a new Godzilla in America by Legendary Pictures. It's not, it's not Roland Emmerich or anything like that involved.
Just because it's America and it's Godzilla, if it's made by somebody who respects the work and it's not out to make a buck going, oh, look, it's Godzilla, it might actually work. It might not, but it might work. Legendary Pictures tends to be a bit good at actually trying to be respectful to the source.
Yeah, it's like I was looking when it was first announced. I was looking at a list of films that they had produced. As far as I could tell, it's all great stuff, or well-received stuff.
What kind of stuff did they do? Because I can't really link that name to anything off the top of my head.
The Nolan Batman films, 300, Watchmen, Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
Yeah, look, you talk about being faithful
Actually,
to the
should I say
watch.
all of Nolan's films?
And by the way, that is where my brain went when you mentioned aliens that could see all of time at once. It's like, oh, Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh. But yeah.
Oh, right. So,
Loopy,
Doctor Who.
timey-wimey, erg.
After that tangent.
We're officially about an hour and a half.
Back on the
Yeah.
crash.
So, final thoughts on the episode, guys?
Oh, like I said, better than Asylum of the Daleks, less plot holy.
Whoa.
Not a great episode. It'll not be in my top 10 list of Doctor Who episodes of all time, but I enjoyed it.
I'm liking it more now than I was when we started this episode, but I would still not, because I think it was just too much of a mess and too much, unnecessary
chaotic
companions and such to really be an episode I enjoy. Like I said, I still prefer the third Doctor Dinosaur adventure than over this one.
The dinosaur invasion?
Yeah.
That's one of the few episodes I've never seen.
Of course, those dinosaurs were, rubber toys that you could probably buy, at the local toy store at the time. But it was fun.
Yeah, just look at the tank and robot.
I prefer the pterodactyl and Torchwood.
Well, they borrowed that for this episode, I think.
Probably.
Possibly, but you never really saw enough of them to figure it out.
Right.
Needs more dinosaurs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about my only complaint about this episode is it really could have used a little more dinosaurs for a episode called Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. It could have used more dinosaurs.
A little less spaceship, please.
A spaceship with dinosaurs on it.
Matter of fact, it would have been easier if they even simplified the script a little bit more. Like, even get rid of the guy that came onto their ship. Like, just have it that the dinosaurs escaped or something and just went on a rampage, and that's why most of the Silurians got killed.
They needed an antagonist.
Yeah, the doctor can't rage and punish. Rage against dinosaurs and punish them.
No, he needed an antagonist. And hence why we wound up with Filch.
But hey, he could have saved Billy.
Pointing that out to me. And as a spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen Mercy yet, there's another big star in that one.
I don't think I know what else he was from.
The Ben Browder. He was like the main character on Farscape.
I haven't seen that.
He was the head of SG-1 in the last 2 seasons of Stargate SG-1.
Haven't seen that either.
Neither have I.
But those are 2 big sci-fi titles.
Okay.
And he's in them. So this will make his 3rd sci-fi outing in a different franchise. Although I don't really know if you could call Farscape a franchise, as it was really just, talk about who they really need. They need to bring in Sir Patrick Stewart for an episode. That would be awesome.
Bring him in as a Cyberman named Luke.
No.
As a Cyberman barely not named Locutus.
No. I got an awesome idea. Bring in Patrick Stewart and have him be the Dark Guardian.
Nah.
I would think that would be Shakespearean enough for him.
Yeah, except for they kind of killed the White and Black Guardians in the 5th Doctor era.
They did?
Yep. Enlightenment.
Oh, okay, well,
I thought they were both
still around. It really matter in
them
stuff.
is from. Have you guys read the webcomic, The 10 Doctors?
Yes, I have. I have it on my computer somewhere.
That's really excellent. By the way, anyone who hasn't, you can Google it, and it's really, it's really awesome. If you know anything about Classic Who, or if you want to get interested in Classic Who, it's a great way to get interested. But that's where what I know of the Guardians comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So.
The White and Black Guardian originally was in the Key to Time, which was a Tom Baker season.
Right.
And then nothing happened with it until the last or second to last of Peter Davidson's runs after
I guess
died.
From what I could gather, is basically an excuse to put a randomizer into the TARDIS so that they could show up random places again, because they didn't have the excuse of the TARDIS was broken like they did in the first Doctor.
Yeah, because by that point the Doctor had gotten the hang of it. So yeah, they basically needed a way to make it so that they were randomly hopping to places. So they added the randomizer, and then they broke it like a season or two later. And the Doctor's just like, oh well.
Oh well, I'll have to randomly see things. Yay!
And it didn't take. It took until Peter Davidson's era for the Black Guardian to figure out where he was and send Turlo to go kill him. And so you wind up with 3 episodes.
I thought Turlo was one of the companions' names.
Yes.
He was.
Okay.
He was originally came onto the ship under the pretense of being a companion on orders of the Black Guardian to kill the Doctor. And later on, it comes to a head in the episode Enlightenment, and Turlo decides to side with the Doctor instead of the Black Guardian, and as a result, the White and Black Guardians are killed.
Not really. The way the White Guardian kind of said it, I thought they kind of meant, well, he's gone for now, but he'll always be back.
It's possible. I would have to watch that episode.
That's the way I interpreted the end of that episode, because it's not like the White Guardian went off and died.
I have to watch that episode again. It has been 30, not quite 30, close to 30 years since I've seen it.
I want to say 3 to 4 years for me, so...
I have the novelization around here somewhere.
Novelizations aren't always 100% either.
I know, I'm just mentioning that. But I had Terminus on old VHS I taped off a WHA. And then the 2 episodes after that, the other 2 parts of that, I have not seen since I originally saw them on WHA back in the 80s. I know the second episode of it confused me because it was a Brigadier episode where he was actually in here in 2 different time periods.
I remember that. And they touched and suddenly corrected everything that was going wrong. Even though that show caused an implosion or something.
Yes. There was some kind of massive disruption because of the paradox caused when the Brigadier met the Brigadier.
Although it never happens with the Doctor.
What's that?
Although then it never happens with the Doctor.
Did they argue?
The 2 Brigadiers?
The Brigadier? No, they just kind of stared at each other going, oh my god.
Wow.
And then touched.
They kind of walked forward and
I've seen the Brigadier. I'm sure I would kind of expect some sort of violent verbal reaction.
The thing is, what happened was the fact that the younger Brigadier, after the disruption, had basically wound up with a form of amnesia that was apparently restored to the older one after they met. Weird temporal paradox stuff that, will give most people a headache.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about temporal paradoxes is watching the same show and listing the different ways paradoxes work in different episodes with different episode writers.
I've had 5-hour conversations with friends on the subject of temporal mechanics. How it works.
I've only had 5-hour conversations with myself about temporal mechanics. So,
I've done that too.
Well, that of course, a love of Brian Greene books.
What's worse is that halfway through any such conversation, I've usually adopted an English accent.
Nice. Thomas, did you get to give final thoughts on the episode?
I don't think I did. Basically for this just, I turned my brain off for this. It was just like, it was so fun. I was just like, oh, what the hell? I just won't think. Or at least if I do, I'll just try not to let it interfere with it. Because I was just like, you know what? The whole idea is kind of silly, so I just ran with it.
Fair enough.
Like, just looking back on it, I can go, yeah, there was some stuff that they could have done differently or whatever, but overall, minus all the nitpicky stuff, it was still a pretty good episode, I think. Like, obviously, like, not great or anything, but better than the first one anyway.
All right,
Yeah.
guys. Until next time, this has been an Unearthly podcast. We'll be posting on Tuesdays on stars-n.net and madmaninc.wordpress.com. We'll see you guys next week for A Town Called Mercy.
And I will probably be doing most of that episode comment in a southern accent.